Well, I think this is probably the best thing to start off the week is because even though I'm doing this on Saturday, um, I'm quite shocked how quickly this has actually progressed. And of course, we're talking about the fact that Trump has the Rona uh, or the virus. And I'm surprised how quickly this actually went. Because if you think of the timeline, he only got announced just yesterday that both him and Melania were positive for the virus, and then almost overnight, just this morning, he'd been transferred to a military hospital, and that he was on, I can't remember the specific name of the drug, but essentially, this drug is designed to stop your lungs from shutting down, which obviously is quite serious, and you can see just the how quickly the turn of events have actually been. Now, of course, Trump himself is very clearly unfit, um, and is in a very, very, I'd say, high risk category um, for this. So, this will once again affect the American elections. But the question is, how is it going to affect the American elections? What impact is it going to have? Who knows? But interesting enough today as well from the Independent, and it's just basically just says this: we're all effed. Trump insiders say that now he has COVID, the election is over. So, just hours after telling attendees at the Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation's annual dinner that the end of the pandemic was in sight, Donald Trump's name was added to the long list of those who've been afflicted by it. Like so many of the consequential announcements he has made during his presidency, Trump broke the news that he, along with his wife Melania, had tested positive for COVID-19 with a post to his Twitter account shortly before 1 a.m. on Friday. An official announcement came through roughly 10 minutes later under the signature of the Commander Sean Connolly, the Navy Medical Chief Corps officer who serves as a physician to the president. According to the Trump world sources, political strategists, and other Washington insiders, the president's disclosure of his positive COVID-19 test may have well had another purpose, announcing the de facto end of his hopes for re-election. The more public-facing members of Trump's White House staff have largely attempted to give the impression of business as usual. Addressing reporters outside the West Wing on Friday, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows characterized the president's symptoms as mild and his mood as being in good spirits, as he spent the day in quarantine, working out of the White House residence, even as he cautioned the other White House staffers that would almost certainly test positive for the virus. Indeed, that's the other next thing: is how many White House staffers are going to test positive. I suspect there are already testing that as we speak, and more will have come out during Saturday and Monday when this video came out. So, indeed, when Meadows first began speaking to reporters outside the White House, sans mask, the first thing he mentioned was not COVID related, but instead recently released unemployment numbers from the last month. Other White House officials, also including the National Economic Council Director, Larry Kudlow, and Trump's top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, continued the administration's attempt to focus attention on the economy with appearances before the press, both in person and on the phone. During an attempt to hold a conference call with reporters about the president's busy American policies, Navarro angrily ended the question and answer session when a reporter began to ask a question about the testing program for the White House staffers. But some of those in Trump's orbit, whose jobs do not include carrying his message to the press, were more circumspect about what testing positive for COVID-19 means for the president's immediate future. He's effed. We're effed. said one White House aide, who is not authorized to speak publicly. No matter what we do, the next 2 weeks or more will be about him not being able to protect himself or us from COVID. When informed of the Biden campaign's announcement that the former VP and his wife, Jill Biden, had both tested negative, the aide replied, "Double effed." Michael Starr Hopkins, a Democratic strategist, also opined that Trump's positive diagnosis spells the end for his campaign's attempt to get Americans to focus on anything other than the pandemic. Any hope he had of being able to change the conversation to things like protesters or the economy are all shot. And after getting infected with COVID, after standing on stage at the presidential debate, mocking Joe Biden for wearing a mask, and then going to Bedminster, knowing that he was potentially infected, I think, that's just going to be the end of it for voters, he said. Oh. There we go. Former White House communications director Anthony Scaramucci, who has become a vocal Trump critic since his stint in Trump's staff ended, said the president contracting the virus is almost Mother Nature's way of sending a signal that there is something severely wrong with our society and what is going on right now. He lied about the science, he's lied about the marks, he's lied about the results of his leadership, and there's hundreds of thousands of people who have died as a result. And hopefully this will be the symbolism for the people when they go to the voting booth, he continued, adding that Trump's dismissal of basic public health measures has been almost criminally negligent because it set up a culture for unscientific dishonesty inside the White House that could be especially damaging to the president, considering poll upon poll, which shows Americans trust Biden far more when it comes to handling the coronavirus pandemic. But Howard Dean, the physician and former Vermont governor, who chaired the Democratic National Committee from 2005 to 2009, said that it's possible that the Trump's campaign could see a boost for sympathy afforded to him as a victim of the pandemic. We have a very strong political differences, but it's not hard to be sympathetic for a victim of COVID, said Dean, who discounted the possibility that Trump contracting the coronavirus could have any effect on his core base of supporters. He did, however, agree that a presidential COVID diagnosis will preclude any further attempts by the Trump campaign or the White House to move the pandemic off the front page. Dean also added that the full impact of Trump's illness on the race won't be known until we find out more about the course of the disease, as well it takes and whether it takes the president, because the medical lens really informs the political lens. But he opined that the president will no longer be able to act as if the virus would simply just go away. We can't possibly predict what's going to happen here, he said. But the happy talk is finally over. And that's really the situation. He is right to a point. Obviously, a lot of Trump's core base and his supporters, they're going to more act as in sympathy. But I think you may see some maybe now finally start to consider that this virus is indeed real and is an actual threat, and that Trump's handling of all this virus has just been completely, absolutely catastrophic from start to finish. So definitely, I think we're going to see just this whole thing. The whole U.S. presidency elections has already been absolute roller coaster. But this just continues. We've just had another massive loop-de-loop on this, and where it's going to go, we don't know. But nevertheless, watching this just unfold over the next couple of weeks, because we're only 4-5 weeks away from the Americans going to the polls on this, So, once again, America and these elections are going to get very interesting very fast. But there you go. So please do like and share this video. It does help out the channel. And of course, down below are links to my Patreon page as well as one-off donation links should you like to support the channel that way. And of course, as always, we'll see you next time.